What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Today, we're talking Week 6 reactions, the good, the bad, and then we're also going to get into Monday Night Football, give some of our best bets. So let's welcome in our guest from the Extra Points Podcast Network and Fox Sports Radio, our friend Martin Weiss. Martin, how we doing?
I'm doing well. You know, it's another Sunday after another just whooping by the books on me. It's been
Same.
ugly this year for me. It's been, it's been, I might as well just donate the money or just light it on fire or, flush it down the toilet. All of them at the same amount of return as it is me picking sides. Somehow I picked the New England Patriots 3 weeks in a row, all 3 of these weeks. So there you go. Me, Bill Belichick, that's what we have in common. We've gotten our kicked the last 3 weeks. But, there you are. Monday morning, this is how we're getting started.
One, if it makes you feel any better, I know you're not alone because Will Brinson, who's on the Pick Six podcast with me, he has also taken the Patriots 3 weeks in a row. So you are not alone in thinking that at some point Bill Belichick's going to show up and get this team in shape, and they're not going to be blown out in the fashion that they have been. Which I guess the Raiders wasn't exactly a blowout, but I took Jimmy Garoppolo to not throw an interception yesterday. All right. I was like, this is going to be his first clean game. So I feel you on that. And look, my week 1, I got absolutely killed. And then I've been on this journey back to the middle. I finally got just over 500 and we're back down below 500 right now. This week was brutal. For multiple reasons, but let's start with, and then there were none, no more undefeated teams in the NFL. My 49ers and the Eagles both lost in surprising fashion, although, hindsight, maybe these had the makings of trap games all over them. What did you find more shocking, the 49ers losing to the Browns or the Eagles losing to the Jets for the first time, I think, ever?
Easily the Eagles losing to the Jets.
Yeah.
The Eagles losing to the Jets was by far the most shocking result of the weekend to me. And it's just simply because the bar is so low for Zach Wilson in my mind.
Yeah.
Like he's like a car. You're in the northeast now. Like you're in a car when your car is like older car and it may not start, and you're like just praying that it starts.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with Zach Wilson. Like, yeah,
you're like,
is it gonna turn over? Like, is the car gonna turn over, or I'm gonna be late to work again today? Like, how is this gonna start out? And so when he shows up on time, I'm like, wow. Didn't play. I mean, played well enough to win. Obviously, they don't win that game without Jalen Hurts throwing 3 interceptions, which is kind of like an underlying storyline this season of how like the Eagles lost 2 coordinators, look a little different, but they keep winning games. But now when you throw 3 interceptions to the Jets' backup cornerbacks, that's something that you're gonna have to sit up and talk about on Philly Talk Radio.
Well, that's exactly it. No Sauce Gardner, no DJ Reed, which I think, we can all agree that they've been locked down on corner. And so you're like, okay, it's going to be tough for them. But then they got the backups in the game. And Jalen Hurts' 3 interceptions was pretty wild to me. And the thing you got to look at too is like, all right, the 49ers and the Eagles, they're aware of what each other is doing. And even though, yes, the Eagles are getting ready for their game, they're not paying attention to anything else, but they definitely knew before that game started that the 49ers lost and they had an opportunity to, we're all inching towards that home field advantage because, essentially both of these teams are making it to the playoffs, right? And home field advantage is something that's very important. When you go into that game knowing that you could get a leg up on the 49ers and then you lay an egg to the Jets with no Aaron Rodgers and no, their backup cornerbacks, that's where I'm just kind of like, I don't know. And look, I'm biased, obviously, to the 49ers. I think that was a terrible game for them. Brock Purdy, he'd never played in bad weather and he had never played from behind. And look what happened. I mean, he dropped the ball. He was throwing off target. And this is the first time that I've seen him look spooked. He threw his very first interception. But I'm more worried about the Eagles than I am about the 49ers, just because this Eagles offense has not looked, like you said, no Shane Steichen. They have not looked the same. I think that the 49ers have looked more dominant through 5 weeks than the Eagles did. The Eagles have squeaked out some games and then they lose to the Jets. So interesting. But what did you think about the 49ers game? What do you think of Brock Purdy? Because I think Brock Purdy finally got recognition from people after that blowout of the Cowboys. I finally heard people saying, all right, maybe Brock Purdy is legit. And then, of course, he has a terrible game.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Saturday night, I was on Fox Sports Radio on my radio show, and we had a whole segment, and I was pounding the table and screaming to the heavens, Brock Purdy is not the MVP. What are we doing here? We have to stop. This is part of the reason why. No disrespect to the man. There can only be one MVP. You know what I mean? It's like the president. You only be one at a time. You know, so it's like to say somebody's not. It's not an insult. You know, but I think and you can't take away. It's not Madden. You can't just take guys out. You know what I'm saying? And send through injuries and stuff like that. But I think we all kind of, as a collective NFL fandom, wanted to see, well, what happens when Brock Purdy, doesn't have his massive arsenal of weapons. Like, if this is Ocean's 11, is Brock Purdy Brad Pitt or is he Don Cheadle? You know what I'm saying? Which one of these roles is he? Can we, is he the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth?
All right, you're saying he's not Brad Pitt.
Is he George Clooney? Like, you know what I'm saying? So we found out he's somewhere, like maybe at the best, you just need him to be Matt Damon, right? Which he's been consistently throughout his career, as long as he's in the right position, right? So maybe Linus can pull through if you're able to, stay in that position. So I think the thing about the 49ers is, as long as everything is on schedule, to beat my metaphor to death with a schedule of the robbery, everything should go on track. But as soon as the power doesn't go out at the right time, oh goodness gracious, Christian McCaffrey's out with an oblique for how long? Brock Purdy, we're gonna need you to show up and do it. And it's like, wait, where's George? Where's Danny Ocean?
First of all, I love this metaphor comparing the 49ers to Ocean's 11. And it is so good because to win a Super Bowl, it's pulling off a high robbery of a casino. Because to your point, so many things have to go right. I would argue that it's the same for every single team. So many things have to go right in order for you to come over to the finish line. The only thing is for me, I've been riding hard for Brock Purdy. I'm a 49ers fan. That is what it is. I think his stats leading up to this point, maybe not MVP talk. I was all in on Christian McCaffrey for MVP, even though a running back being what?
So was I, actually. That was the other half of the Brock Purdy's not the MVP. And it's like, because Christian McCaffrey is.
Right, exactly. And I haven't been on that train. To me, it's very interesting because we're like, all right, the kid finally had a terrible game, looked like crap. Two of his best weapons go down, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. You still have Ayuk out there and you're throwing over him. But I will say, at the end of the game, Brock Purdy put a drive together and gave the 49ers an opportunity to win that game. Now, Jake Moody, rookie kicker, couldn't cook anything yesterday. Rookie kicker had a bad game, missed 2 field goals. 41 yards. That should be a gimme in this league. He missed it. I stand by that. Moody was not able to win the game for the 49ers, but he wasn't the reason that they lost. But Brock Purdy did give them a chance to win there in the end. And the 49ers absolutely should have made that kick and won the game. But it's interesting to me. It's like, all right, what happens next? Let's see what Brock Purdy does under the adversity now of like, all right, you played a really bad game. Some of this, if not a lot of this, is on your shoulders because, the O-line kind of broke down a little bit too. But does he continue to play bad now, or does he bounce back? And I'm curious, is this a fluke or is this who he is?
I think neither one are true. Like, he's not the guy. I think he'll, at this point, he's gonna be cashing NFL checks for at least 2 or 3 years now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna be 13-0 again on a stretch. Like, because who is?
Right.
Like, no one is. Like, that's just untenable, right? I think he's probably going to be closer to the quarterback that we saw yesterday. But, ultimately, like you said, had him in a position with the chance to win, albeit against XFL legend P.J. Walker, right?
He's 5-0, by the way, in his NFL starts. P.J. Walker is not to be slept on.
P.J. Walker, you know what? He won me so much money as a member of the Houston Roughnecks.
Somebody won you money.
But last year he caught me though when he was that Hail Mary against the Falcons.
Yeah.
I had the Falcons win the division last year, and of course he threw that Hail Mary as a member of the Panthers. Anyway, that's yesterday. As Dave Damashek says, let's stop living life in the rear view. Go back to where we were just talking about. Brock Purdy will be fine. He'll be fine. And he'll be fine in part because he's in Kyle Shanahan's offense. and Kyle Shanahan's offense, almost all the quarterbacks are fine. Almost all of them. There's a Mendoza line for sure, and that line is Jimmy G. Brock Purdy's better than that. And I know Jimmy G's your boy, but like, it fell off after that. Like Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard and that. But like, as long as it's Jimmy G and up, you're good.
Right. And I actually agree with that. Now, one thing I want to ask you about Christian McCaffrey, because, you were also of the belief that Christian McCaffrey is having an MVP caliber year. And I believe it was you and I, when we were talking about college football in Colorado, that, when you bring so much attention to yourself and you're balling out like that, you become the target of everyone. And I have seen what the hits and and I don't mean dirty plays, but a lot of face masks, a lot of, aggression. Like, do you believe that the last 2 weeks, Christian McCaffrey has been absolutely targeted? I mean, I saw Cleveland players doing celebration dances as if they sacked the quarterback just for tackling a running back yesterday. And some of the hits,
he's more important than the quarterback.
Yeah.
He matters more.
Fair.
I think it's really hard to take Christian McCaffrey down. Yeah. Like, I really like I actually was taking notes and wrote this down during the first drive of the game, in which he just had like 70 yards all purpose.
Yeah.
But there was 2 different plays where he's just running. He's running. He's got the ball in his right hand, and he just kind of like flicks down with his left hand and hits a defender in the helmet. And that guy's face just is like, bow, into the ground. And it's like, that's crazy, because it looked like he's like swatting a fly. Like, oh, excuse me, leave me alone here. And that's it. So I think, and you just, look at him. Look at him. He's built like freaking Adonis Creed. He's mad. I mean, he's humongous.
I mean,
he's linebacker size. He's bigger than Fred Warner.
Christian McCaffrey are you talking about muscles? Because he's shorter than Fred Warner.
No, I'm talking about muscles. I'm talking about muscles and frame. Like I wouldn't want to get hit by either one of them. No. Just to be clear. But I feel like getting hit by Christian McCaffrey is still something that's something you got to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've just felt like the hits on him and the targeting on him. But yeah, if you want to stop the 49ers, you have to stop Christian McCaffrey. We'll see. He's got the oblique injury. I think he's going for MRI or something today. And hopefully, he's not going to miss some time. But it's been kind of worrying for, at least for 49er fans, to watch the level of hits that guy is taking and the celebratory actions that happen after they kind of take him down. I mean, you would agree, he's being targeted.
I mean, yeah, he also got the ball 30 times a game. Like, I would target him too. We need to hit him.
Yeah. All right, fine. Okay, fair. So let's move on. The Jags won again. They won their 2 games in London, and the whole thing was like, all right, they can win in London. Can they win at home? I mean, they were winless against the spread as favorites at home. They win yesterday 37-20 versus the Colts. Gardner Minshew against his former team looked like was not a revenge spot for him at all. What do you think of this game?
I think that we have found out that Gardner Minshew is the backup quarterback that we found he was. Like, you want to talk about another guy who came out guns a-blazing, and he was all about the jean shorts and the mustache. And I like Gardner Minshew. I was a fan of his. Too many nights Pac-12 after dark. I was watching him spinning for Washington State. I remember. But the thing, my takeaway with this one is I still have not been impressed with Jacksonville. I think their run game has gotten them together the last 2 games. ATN. I was thinking about this yesterday. Is ATN the best? Like, the last 2 weeks, he's been like the best back in the AFC. In terms, he's got 4 touchdowns, 200 yards rushing. And I can't really think of like anybody else. I'm sure there's somebody who will tweet us whenever this comes out. Like, wow, Martin, you idiot. Don't you know that my favorite running back?
You don't know about this guy.
Is the best one.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, when people tweet at you, it's like all of a sudden you're the dumbest person alive because there's someone else that we forgot.
I mean, it's Twitter. We're all dumb for being on it. But
fair.
But the Jaguars defensively, they've been pretty good. But I just say, if Travis Etienne hadn't been running the ball like he has the last 2 weeks, I wonder what their record's been. And I think my biggest takeaway from this is maybe we need to stop caring how much travel happens in London for the Jaguars. Like, they're just good at it.
Yeah.
They just they understand how to go back and forth, because that was this whole thing. Like, there's going to be a schedule loss with the Colts, and it's like, Well, you know what? They scheduled that win quite well.
I agree with you on that one. Trevor Lawrence has been interesting to me. He threw for 2 touchdowns yesterday, but before that, he hadn't thrown for 2 touchdowns, I believe, since like week 1. What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence? I mean, number one overall, last year had a pretty good year. This year doesn't seem to be able to move the ball as well. Are you worried at all about Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, I'm not worried. Like, I think it'll be fine. I do get concerned. He takes a lot of hits. It seems like he's really getting crushed out there,
Yeah.
and oftentimes, the ball's coming out. I see like
Yeah.
these fumbles once, twice a game. That matters. That's big. Like that matters in a way that kills you in playoff games and moments you need to win. But in terms of like Trevor Lawrence in general, I mean, he's gonna. I think he's already shown he's pretty like top 10 talent in the league, depending on the Sunday. Like you can win games with him. You like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Came back in
Jack's
the
next game is
playoffs.
your Saints. I know you have not been high on New Orleans. They did, squeak out a big win against the Patriots a couple weeks ago. How?
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. How do you think this game plays out?
So I think the Jaguars will win that one. Jaguars are in a different class. The Saints are squarely in the middle class of the NFL. Like they're warehouse workers. They're the backbone of the NFL economy. Is the New Orleans Saints. They're going to lose to the good teams and they'll beat the bad teams.
Okay. All right. So a loss for them. Colts see the Browns next week. Seems like a letdown for the Colts, or not a letdown, and just they're going to lose that game. But could be a letdown maybe for the Browns. Obviously, this weekend was extremely physical between the 49ers and the Browns. Their defense might be a little bit off their game, but do you think there's just no way the Colts win this game? Or
I mean, it depends. If we're gonna sit here and look, I know I just got through talking about how Gardner Minshew, he is who we thought he was. But I know who PJ Walker is.
Right.
And as much fun as it was to watch PJ Walker get out there and beat the, Super Bowl favorite, and that's why, like, the ultimate, this is why they play the game. Like, nah, Gardner Minshew is like, he's this, and plus, this is what a nasty game. Just what a nasty game. The real story is, how is it that we're not talking more about Deshaun Watson not being medically cleared, but not feeling good enough to play football over the last 2 weeks? And if that's the case, and both of these things are true, then how is it that medically cleared and not feeling well enough to play football are two separate things?
How are you able to make that much money and then just say, I don't feel like playing today? And then you got, what's his name? Njoku, who burned his whole face off and still has the burns that look, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the picture of it. I mean, it looks absolutely awful. And he's thrown on a helmet and taken hits, and his burns are being exposed to weather and bacteria and whatever else, and sweat, which can't be good for burns that are healing. And then you got Deshaun Watson. I mean, I think anybody would say, hey, if you've got that level of burns on your face, you want to take a couple games off. That is more understandable to me than being medically cleared and then just choosing not to play.
But that's what I mean. But he said I don't even know if he's choosing not to play. Like, what if he's physically unable to do so? Like, I would imagine, like, if you can only throw the ball 15 yards and, like, you're unable to do the job, right? And you're hurting the team to be out there. Like, David Njoku, for all his burns, which I first of all, agree with you. If I was ever in that scenario, I'm not going anywhere or doing anything at all. I'm not even getting the remote for the TV. All right. Somebody else is getting the remote and putting it on what I want to watch. I'm not touching anything. All right. Just to get that out in the open. So David Njoku, is more power to you, brother. But that's what I'm trying to square the circle of. Is like, if he's medically healed or medically cleared and can't do the job, then how is he medically cleared? I don't know. I think it's interesting. Especially, but like, they could have done themselves a favor and not cleared him if he's not going to play.
Right. Yeah, because then that just brings on a whole onslaught of people online being like, and then there's just because someone like Njoku just had that happen to him, it's so hard not to compare them all. So I'm sure he's getting ripped apart. Let's move on. Dolphins continue to roll. They defeat the Panthers 42-21, but at one point, I believe the Panthers were up like 14-0. I remember I was obviously
Mm-hmm.
watching the 49ers game in anguish, and then I got Red Zone on, and I'm kind of clicking through, and I looked at that score, and I'm like, what is happening? But in the end, won by 21 points. Raheem Mostert, 3 touchdowns. What do you think of this Mostert Achane thing, right? Because the beginning of the season, Mostert, RB1, going off like crazy, had a game where he had 4 touchdowns. And then all of a sudden, Achane came out, and Achane was the one that was the lead back and getting everything. Achane goes down, Mostert back in. Do you have a favorite back between the two of them?
I don't think Mike McDaniels does. I
Yeah.
don't. For the record, I don't. This just reminds me of like a guy who has like a ton of shoes on the wall. I used to have it in my old bedroom before I moved in with my girlfriend. But we had like
Wait, so the
30
girlfriend you
pairs of
moved in with
shoes.
doesn't like the shoes all over the wall?
Well, we need more wall.
Okay.
That's the bigger problem. We need more wall. But you like all those shoes a lot, all of them. You wear
Yeah.
different ones for different occasions. That's what the Miami Dolphins have. Like the idea that they have both of those guys who probably in high school were junior Olympic type guys, like running
Yeah.
for the United States, representing our country, I would imagine. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is, as you know, 49ers fan, no slow person by his, and he just got off of IR just the other day. So no, that's what it is. Just which car do I want to take today? Do I want to take the Ferrari? Do I want to take the Lamborghini? You know what I'm saying? That's what Mike McDaniel says when he looks at his play sheet. That's what it is with Mostert and Achane, especially with the way that those guys come and the way they use that like short motion between Tyreek Hill, the other 2 or 3 of them. They're just all shot out of a cannon. It's not fair. They're playing a different sport.
I agree. The Panthers, we talked about there's no more undefeated teams, but there still is a winless team. It is the Panthers. They are 0-6. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. When do you think that the Panthers can get a win? They see the Texans next week, then the Colts. You think next week? Nope. Okay.
Maybe.
Colts, nope.
Maybe the Colts. Maybe the Colts.
Maybe the Colts. And then November 9th, the Bears.
Maybe.
Cowboys.
God, that's going to be just unwatchable. Absolutely not. The Cowboys lose to the Panthers. Should shut the whole organization down.
Titans.
No.
Bucks.
No.
Saints.
Nah, I don't think so.
Falcons, Packers, Jags. So what you're saying to me, it is possible.
This is a 2-win team, 2-3-win team.
Okay, but what do you think they could win 0 games the entire season?
Oh, sure. Oh, it's in play. It's definitely in play. It's definitely in play. I actually, Katie just launched a Substack, and the first episode, the first edition will go out after I finish with this. But on it, I wrote, I put all the teams in vibes, right? Everybody does power rankings. Who cares?
Yes.
About the power rankings.
Okay.
I said the vibes, right? Like right now, the Lions, immaculate vibes. 49ers, even though they're 5-1, mid vibes. You got to get that injury report back. Chicken missed a big field goal. Brock Purdy turned back into a pumpkin. It's like, hang on a second. You could shoot right back up.
Yeah.
But the Carolina Panthers, their vibes are in hell. And the thing I wrote for them said, you'll always have the first quarter, right? You'll always have that 14-0 lead over the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
That was easily the highlight of the season. It may be the only highlight of the season, especially after you consider Frank Reich coming out the week prior talking about, hey, the owner's heavily involved. Then when you take that statement and then remember Matt Rule and the carousel of quarterbacks that he had going through there, and you have to wonder. And you know what? I'm sorry. Bryce Young just looks like a child.
Well,
I know it's a grown man. He's a millionaire. He's much better at football than I'm better than anything that I do in my life. However, I think if he was my height, he'd be a better player.
Yeah. Well, let's give me the vibes for the teams who are 5-1. You got the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Niners, and the Eagles. What are their vibes?
So the Chiefs vibes are good. Chiefs vibes are good vibes right now because they got a great defense, still figuring out that offense, right? The Lions have immaculate vibes right now. They are in the immaculate tier.
Okay.
And quite honestly, wonder, like, it's hard for me to square the circle of it, but are they the best team in the NFL?
Come on now.
Are they the no. I misspoke. I'm sorry. Are they the best team in the NFC? Are they? Because the 49ers just lost to PJ Walker and the Browns. The Eagles just lost to Zach Wilson and the Jets.
Yeah.
And the Lions' only loss was to the 3-2 Seahawks in overtime. I rest my case. It's
all
week
right.
6. You don't win. You don't win anything to be the week 6 champion. However, something to think about.
All right. Something to think about. Well, how are the vibes in Miami then?
Oh, immaculate as well. When they're playing a different sport, they're playing video games on easy. They have to. I mean, the vibes have to be immaculate when Tyreek Hill runs into the end zone and does a selfie black flip. Think about it. Tyreek Hill's 29 years old. Could you imagine doing a selfie backflip at 29?
No.
Me neither.
Miami,
I'd be in the hospital for a week.
Miami is the most fun team to watch just because their offense can just light up anyone. But I just don't know how much I trust them all season long. They lost to the Bills. The Bills have been kind of up and down. But yeah, as it stands right now, I would agree with you that Miami's vibes are immaculate. And the 49ers, I could give the 49ers a mid vibe, but I think they needed this
right now.
Yeah, they needed this, though. They needed to be knocked down. They needed some adversity. You can't just be flying high all the time. And I would think that the Eagles vibe is a little less than sub-mid, because I think they got a lot more problems with this offense.
But, I mean, but it's still, they're squarely mid because 5-1 is 5-1.
Yeah.
Right? So, look, you may have problems, but at least all your bills are paid. Right? No, they're not coming to evict you, right?
Yeah. You're not going on expensive vacations, but you live your life just fine.
Exactly, right? You may got some issues, right? Like, what am I going to eat for dinner? Mexican, Italian? Oh my goodness, how can I ever decide? But when you turn on the light switch, the lights are coming on.
Yeah.
Like right now in New England, you're worried. You're worried about all of it. Is the heat coming on?
Yeah.
Did Bill forget the electric bill? Is Mac Jones going to take a safety to blow yet another cover? Oh, yeah, he is. An intentional grounding safety. At least get hit. Oh, my goodness.
If you're in New England, you are not checking the mail because you don't want to see all of the bills that are actually piled up. You're afraid of your mail.
And then not only that, your mailman is literally the best mailman of all time, but you're not sure if he's still delivering the mail. It's like, okay, men do this all the time. I don't know if women do, but they always go to the same barber, right? Men, same barber, like all consistently, right? Yeah. But like, I don't know people that have been going to the same barber for 25 years at this point, right?
Wow. But
imagine, probably at some point over 25 years, you might have lost your skills. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You might not. Now your barber's over there shaking like like a Polaroid picture as you're going to cut your hair, and you come out looking zigzagged, and you're wondering why. But you know what? You still got the same barber.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now with Bill Belichick. It's as hard as it is. I don't want to. It feels like down is up. 2 + 2 is 5. Bill Belichick is 1-5 in the NFL. I don't know what's happening. It's the strange world we live in.
So you're putting you're putting this on Bill Belichick.
Who else? I mean, yeah. He's all the way in charge of everything. He picks the players and then puts the players out there. And then he picks the people that coach the players along the way. Like, remember this, Katie. The only person who's got win-loss in their resume is the head coach.
True. That is true. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our week 6 recap. We're moving on to Monday Night Football tonight. Maybe you've got more metaphors for me. At this point, I think you're like the king of metaphors. We're talking about vibes. We're talking about mailmen. We're talking about, almost everything. Ocean's 11. Stick around for Moxie Bets. We got MNF picks coming up next. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. All right, welcome back. Now, Martin, let's take a look at tonight's game between the Cowboys and the Chargers. The line is 1.5, and the Cowboys are favored. This total is quite high at 51. I want nothing to do with the side of this game because the Cowboys are just they either get blown out or they blow out. There's no real in between with them. And then you got the Chargers, who always seem to charge and lose games in like the final drive, the final 2 minutes of a game. What are you thinking for this matchup?
I will go on a side for this. I'm going to go on the side of the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Bounce back.
I'm going down with this ship. I know we had when you had me on to do previews. I think I gave I had my NFC Championship game being the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, spicy. You still believe that?
It might be a little too hot.
It a little bit more than your lemon pepper.
Right, exactly. I wish I had really gone out on a limb and set the line, because I'd be feeling much better about that, because I really think they might be the best team in the NFC, which is crazy. No, but I'm gonna go ahead. If I picked the Cowboys to win this game a while ago, and I can't let you'd be a bad handicapper if you just let the results from just last week influence you too much, right? And if there was ever a time to really lock in, it's after the guy that you let go and Kellen Moore.
Yes.
It's time to go score points on him, right? They would think that would be one. I do kind of like the under in this one, though. I see the final score being 25-24.
Ooh.
Dallas. So I think it's going to squeak just under the total of 50. And then also the Cowboys win but don't cover. So I'm playing the money line at -125, -130, where you get it.
I don't hate it. You got to think that the Cowboys bounce back here. The Kellen Moore revenge game is interesting to me, though, because the Cowboys blamed everything on Kellen Moore. So you got to think he's pretty motivated on the other side. But I'm going to go Dak Prescott over 254.5 passing yards. So Dak had a terrible game against 49ers, right? Only 153 passing yards, 3 interceptions. But I do think that this game script is going to be a little bit different because the Chargers rank last in the league, 32nd in opponent yards per game. They rank bottom 2 of the league, I believe 30th in yards per pass attempt. So if there's a game where Dak Prescott can bounce back and feel better about himself and move the ball down the field, I feel like it is versus the Chargers. And he has gone over this mark or around this mark. I believe he had like 149 in one game in 3 of 5 games. So I don't know. Look, you're right in with the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. I do think that their defense is going to bounce back. I don't think it's going to look, the Chargers aren't putting 42 up on them. There's just no way that this defense doesn't bounce back.
I think the thing about Dallas' defense, which is kind of interesting, Arizona got to him, San Francisco got to him, 2 top 5 rushing teams in the league as of before week 6. I don't know where the numbers bear out now, but before week 6, both of those were in the top 5. Brandon Staley and them, they're not running the ball.
They're not running the ball except for Austin Eckler. I do like him over 49.5 yards. I mean, he's back. He's healthy. How many running backs are healthy at this point in the season? And he's coming back just fresh. And like you said, the Cowboys have struggled to stop the run. They rank 22nd, and they've allowed McCaffrey and Mason over 50 yards, Connor and Dobbs and Rondale Moore over 50 yards, Saquon, even Daniel Jones got 41 yards. So I do think we have a good game from Austin Eckler. I took him over 49.5 rush yards. What is another bet that you like for this matchup?
I like Keenan Allen over 6.5 receptions. He has been the guy for Justin Herbert over the last few weeks. He's flirted with the number week 1. He got 6. Then he had 8, 18. And I think he went under this one the last game that they played. But coming out of a bye, these two have a really good rapport. And especially when you consider how the Cowboys secondary is kind of ball hawkish, and that he's going to be throwing the ball to Keenan Allen, especially because I'm not sure how much he trusts guys like Quentin Johnston and the rest of the pass catchers on the team.
I agree with you. I just hope it doesn't happen because I'm neck and neck right now with my fantasy matchup, and he's got Keenan Allen. And if Keenan Allen goes off in this game, I think he beats me. So but game script wise, totally agree with you. One other thing I like, and this is kind of more of a long shot, but I like it. I like Jake Ferguson for an anytime touchdown. It's at plus 220. It shifted around. It was 215 this morning. We know that Dak loves throwing to tight ends in the red zone. We saw it last year with Dalton Schultz, and we see it now with Ferguson. Ferguson is actually tied with Devontae Adams for the most targets in the red zone at 11. Now, he only has one touchdown so far to show for it, okay? And that's versus the Jets. But the volume is there. And like they say, even a broken clock strikes 12 twice a day. So, tonight's the night. Jake Ferguson gets in for a touchdown.
You know what? I had Dalton. I'm not mad at it. Yeah. I'm not mad at it one bit. Especially, it's just what I am mad at is just that red zone inefficiency of, which just speaks to a bigger issue with the Dallas Cowboys. But that's a story for a different day. This is kind of off the wall, but the Chargers off a bye.
Yeah.
Right. And Justin Herbert is something crazy like 7-25 against the spread in the second half with the lead, right?
7-25.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty ridiculous.
Just implodes.
Now, compound that with Brandon Staley and his late game decision making, which is, to put it politely, absolutely ridiculous. What about the Chargers to win the first half and the Cowboys to win the full game?
What are the odds?
I wish I had looked that up before I brought it up to
Okay,
you.
no, I love that because it's got to be, it's a double result.
Double result.
Yeah, I mean, I bet this is.
It's probably going to be substantial.
I like,
but I just think the Chargers off a bye. Cowboys just got kicked by the 49ers. And remember, we've seen teams they take a minute to get back after. Remember last year, the stat of how the 49ers, everybody lost the game they played after they played the 49ers. I don't know if it's true this year in the same way. I don't think so. But like the fact remains, you just played a physical game late Sunday night, and then Brandon Staley might very well have a 4-point lead with a minute and 30 seconds left and 4th and 5 on his own 36-yard line and then run the ball. Because that's the type of stuff that he does.
I love this, and I want to tail it. I know it exists, but you know how sportsbooks are. Sometimes it's hard to find what the situation is. But I bet I like it because the Chargers are going to figure out a way to charge, but they're great in the first half, and the Cowboys just can't lose this game.
Justin Herbert with the lead. I mean, it reached its head at in the playoffs, right? When Trevor Lawrence had a 4 interception comeback, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the second half, and for them to go see Kansas City and then eventually lose. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna put a few shekels on that double result of Chargers then Cowboys double result.
I love it. I'm going to tail that with you. I mean, we're filming this, guys, in the morning, so some things are off the board right now. But if you can find that, definitely take it. Martin, thank you so much.
I mean, it'll be there. It'll be in like your parlay markets before kickoff for sure. But 100%. Yeah, it is, like you said, it is super early in the morning.
Yes. So it'll be there. Make sure you take it. I am going to too. Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. Talk to you got Lemon Pepper Podcast. You got Extra Point stuff going on. Obviously, you're on Fox. Tell people where to find you.
Do that. And again, I called it the neutral field. You know, they always say, like, if these two teams meet on a neutral field, well, that's what I named my Substack.
I love it.
Spent like all night writing it, the first episode, edition, whatever you like, the volume, right? Whatever you want to call it. So that's on Substack. I don't know how to search for it, but I'll tweet it out after. Yes. I'm on Twitter at Martin Weiss and all of that. So if you see it on the Substack app, subscribe. It's free.
Neutral Field on Substack with Martin Weiss. Thank you so much. Again, this has been Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social as well at Moxie Bets, and we'll see you next time.